This is Radio 4. Now it's time for You and Yours with Shari Vahl.
We're keen to hear your stories and comments too. You can email us at youandyours@bbc.co.uk. On social media, use the hashtag YouAndYours, or you can text us on 84844. But first, in February, we brought you the story of the unofficial passport website, which has sued more than 150 of its own customers after they tried to cancel or refuse to pay. People who used britishpassportservices.co.uk say they didn't realise they weren't on the government's official site when they tried to book a last-minute appointment for a new passport. We spoke to several people earlier this year who'd been affected, including Mark Dillaway from South Wales, who didn't realise what it was when he clicked and paid £117 for an appointment which is actually free.
They said, oh no, you haven't made the appointment through any of our offices, you've made it through a third party. That is when my stomach sank. I felt sick. I felt sick to my very stomach. I just could not believe that I'd fallen for it. I felt extraordinarily embarrassed because on the 30th of December, I retired after nearly 30 years service as a police officer in the City of London Police.
And this is what happened to Martin Wyatt from Bristol.
Once we discovered that we had been fooled into paying this company for the so-called appointment, we called our credit card company. They agreed to stop the payment. We went on holiday and didn't hear any more from this company until November, with a warning that if we didn't pay it, they would take legal action. Missed calls, they left threatening messages. By that time, the cost inflated to about £177.
And Martin is being sued for that payment by British Passport Services. That was from our report in February. Well, last Thursday, a judge in Cambridge ruled in favour of Alex Yates, one of the people being sued by the website's owner, Richard Howard. The judge agreed the website is misleading. It's the first time a judge has looked in detail at the site, and I asked Alex Yates what the judge said.
She said the website was misleading. She also said that my evidence that there are a significant number of cases that Richard Howard has put on his website where he has managed to go through the courts and achieve to get money off people. This has been through default judgments, which is where people ignore the court papers, or it's through out-of-court settlements where people negotiate on a price and pay. There were, in the last year, 160 of these. That's almost one every other day. It amounts to £30,000, over £30,000. She said, well, this clearly demonstrates that not only have the Advertising Standards Agency said that your website is misleading, but also people are being misled by it.
Now, this is a county court judgment, and county court judgments are made on a case-by-case basis, so there is no precedent set here. But what kind of message do you think this judgment sends?
To me, it's very, very clear. Everybody who's dealt with British Passport Services has got a slightly different case. Some say they cancelled, some say the services weren't delivered properly, some say that it was delivered at the wrong passport office, or whatever. Everybody's got a different case, and actually among everybody, mine is one of the weakest. He did book me an appointment at the passport office I chose on the day I requested. So to a certain extent, he has delivered on that service. My main defence is that the website is misleading. Now, the interesting thing about that is applicable to anybody that has used Richard Howard's website. In my case, it was the fact that the website was misleading, and a judge felt that way. She ruled against Richard Howard for that reason. And as far as I'm concerned, those reasons stand for anybody else that has used British Passport Services.
Now, this has been going on for you since last September.
Yeah.
How has it been for you?
It's been horrible, but I've had a relatively easy run of it compared to some other people. It was frustrating when I initially went through it. In the period from September up until December, I was getting regular texts, recorded voice calls, emails, telling me that I needed to pay money, which is a hassle. It's frustrating. I'd been told that by not paying I was committing fraud, which is a bit scary.
It's also not true, is it? That's not fraud.
Well, I would say so, but I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not qualified to make that decision, but I didn't feel I was. I felt like I'd been completely legitimate and upfront and open and honest. The scariest moment and the lowest moment for me was seeing the court paper with my name listed as a defendant, because that's not something I ever expected to see. I've tried to be an honest, fair person that's played a good role in society, and to see your name as a defendant on a county court claim is scary. You're worried about all sorts of things like your credit rating, what's going to happen here, what are the consequences. At this point, I'm not a legal expert, so I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go to court. I don't want to end up paying thousands of pounds in legal fees. I didn't know at that point that in the small claims court, that's not a risk. When I was issued with this paper, I was faced with a decision, do I fight this or not? And so I started doing some research, and I began to realise that this isn't a one-off thing. I'm one of many. There are many people who are in the same position as me. And at that point, I began to get really angry. I could see how much money they were beginning to claim off people. By the time the county court judgment had come up, they were claiming for £200. It had gone up from 117 to 202. By this point, I was beginning to do the maths and working out quite how much money this company is making. By data on their own website, just the people that they've actually gone into legal proceedings with, they've managed to make £30,000. If it was just about me, I should have just paid and be done with it and move on with my life, put it down as a lesson learned. But it wasn't just about me. It was about a huge number of people who are in the same position. So for that reason, I said, no, if you really, really believe that you're genuinely entitled to this money, I'll see you in court.
Alex Yates. Well, previously Mr Howard has denied repeatedly his website misleads people into believing they're the government site. He points out that at the top of the site it says no government affiliation. He also says our fees can be avoided by visiting the post or passport offices, incurring just the passport fee, still due if you use our service, as we're an unaccredited company without any government licence.